Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to CharismaToAC. We're playing Masks, a new generation, and this is our second superhero team, Misfits. I'm Daniel, your host and GM, and joining me today are Comrade Brain.
Hello!
Joan.
Hi.
And AJ.
No.
Salmid and Rasmus could not join us today, so instead we will be focusing on the endeavors of Recon, of Trespass, and Constrictor. And we will see what's up with Entry and Vanguard, and why they didn't join us. We will find out more about that next time, hopefully. But yeah, so Masks, teenage superhero shenanigans, wrapped in a glorious foil of self-identification and identity as projected by society. I can't wait. I hope you can't either. Let's talk about what happened last time, and then let's introduce our characters so we can get going. Let's see. Who wants to? I think maybe. What about you, Constrictor? Do you want to tell us what happened last time?
No.
You do not.
I would, but I can't actually remember the details.
That's why I don't want to tell.
Well,
It's been a while, unfortunately.
I cheated before the game started, so I actually know what happened.
I think for this time, then we'd better leave it in your capable hands.
In that case,
What capable hands?
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, nah, I'm not sure about that.
Shush! Don't interrupt while I'm trying to smooth talk the editor in chief here, because
As long as you don't try to butter him up, he'll just
Ew!
become sticky.
Oh, that's just gross. Daniel,
Okay.
Can we agree that I'm never going to butter you up?
I will not commit to any such thing. You can have like make whatever New Year's resolutions you want, but I will not promise that you'll never butter me up.
How about olive oil?
I don't know.
I think you're all disgusting.
I'm a
Oh,
big.
come on. Daniel covered in olive oil.
I don't like that either.
I find it hilarious. And I can use you as a stone and skip you across my floor. I don't know why that made me cry up, but it did.
You know that if that was to be the case, I would do the Homer Simpson whoop, 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 like turning around on the spot thing. Like I wouldn't be able to help myself. Anyway, so what happened last time was we had for the most part, like very chill and very like very pleasant episode. It was centered mostly around the fact that it was Moira's birthday, and Moira not being used to having company over was surprised to find her entire superhero team showing up and being like, "Happy birthday! Oh my god, time to ruin everything in your immediate surroundings."
That might be why Entry isn't here, because he almost blew up her entire house with flour.
Certainly, that could very well be the case. That maybe he's retreated to like make sure that the tide
A safe
goes over.
distance.
But the long and short of it was that we had like a bunch of interaction during the birthday party, in which there were ups and downs, emotions, of course, emotions, attractions, and everything nice, and an exchange of gifts, naturally. All of which like culminated in what I would describe as a very pleasant experience for everyone involved. Least of which not Moira. But that is not the end of what happened last time, because what we learned in addition, following the birthday party, was we learned when Entry was doing some research into the tech that has been misused and co-opted from his father's research to become a tool in the hands of criminals that you have recently come across. He discovered that some of the tech is either like contains or is predicated upon like it contained a certain form of microchip that is like strictly controlled and licensed in certain like often military endeavors, and traced the particular one he had to Graves Corp, to Graves. So I'm always bouncing between like Graves, Graves Tech, Graves Corp, Graves Industries. It probably has an official name, but this is just one of those
Or
inconsistencies.
maybe it's different branches.
Yeah, it might be. It's nevertheless, it's going to be one of those things that would drive comic book fans up the wall. Right. So he learned that, and we didn't find out what he was going to do with that information, but we understood that this was something that meant something to him. We also saw our dear Trespass go out to take a long run to throw off some to burn off some emotions and to blow off some steam. Was out taking a parkour jog across the rooftops of Halcyon. When she wound up next to the still as of yet unnamed river where you fought Cassidy Keel, as she tried to tip a chemicals barge and succeeded at tipping a chemicals barge a few days ago. And when she was down there, she noticed that there was an intense Aegis presence, and upon closer investigation, learned in all of her stealthy quietness that apparently this chemical barge that was supposed to just transfer, chemicals from somewhere downstream and out into the harbor bay, was actually a smokescreen, like carrying something else in its hold that Aegis was involved with, and you do not know what. So in an attempt to find out, you decided you were gonna go and see an old friend of yours from your crime days, a local boss, a crime boss by the name of Mr. Kane.
Yes, indeed.
And we did not get to see that. We ended as you were about to enter his domain.
Yeah, probably with this classic shot where you can see one of her feet, like you see it from frog perspective, you see the door at the distance.
Yeah.
And then in the foreground, there's just her foot that you have to look past to watch, to see the door.
Exactly, right. There's like an alleyway, like it's like a little bit rain slick out there. There's like a solitary light bulb shining down on like an innocuous looking industrial door.
Yeah, super, super foreboding in its own kind of weird way.
Yes, exactly. So that's definitely like the vibe of what transpired there. And as far as I'm aware, that's what happened last time.
Yep.
You forgot the fact she sold us out.
That is true. I did forget. I did not forget that, but I did forget to mention that. That as a part of making it past the Aegis agents, Trespass inadvertently, or maybe entirely deliberately, I forget.
Very deliberately.
Drew attention to a camera on the harbor front that might have caught the identities of the people who perpetrated the crime that happened here, or like shed some light into Aegis' investigation. Unfortunately, the camera is placed in such a way that it will almost assuredly draw their attention toward your superhero team. The most obvious of which, and easiest to find and therefore easiest to approach by the government agency, is Constrictor.
Absolutely.
No, she wore glasses. They can't recognize her.
I don't like this. That's not the superhero vigilante teenager Constrictor. That's just mild mannered snake mutant Moira Morgan. I know her because my daughter attends her high school. That's not her. Look, she's not even wearing glasses.
Oh, good lord. That's.
I couldn't help it. But she does wear sunglasses, just not when fighting because they could get broken.
Naturally. So, the horns aren't a dead giveaway, and neither is the body.
Of course they are.
Well, the horns are new.
The horns are new, but it's pretty obviously her.
Exactly. That's the nature of the spent team point.
It's just like, it's mostly the question of, no, it wasn't me! It was someone else with a glistening black scaly lower half.
Yep. It's like, look, it could be any snake mutant, okay? It's just, let's be honest here, like, isn't this profiling?
Exactly.
It's definitely racial profiling.
Yep. This is part of the ongoing war against people of certain overt bodily mutations.
Yeah,
Um.
totally.
Anyway, that would totally be a real thing in like 20 years. When enough people have mutated, that would be like a real thing. It'd be like, yeah, the cops are just like, don't care, just pull you over for no reason. You aware you were going 34 miles in a 40-mile zone? I mean, something that justifies me pulling you over.
Right.
Something like
Anyway, anyway, from that, let's naturally segue into talking about our characters. Starting from the top.
Daniel.
I know, right? I'm the smoothest. Speaking of buttering me up. Constrictor, why don't you tell us about yourself, what playbook you're playing, and what you're all about?
Is transformed, not because the tail was a dead giveaway.
Yep, that's true. Maybe we could have picked up on that for ourselves.
Yeah.
But just for the sake of those in the audience who might not be super familiar with the idea of being transformed.
Well, I forget what we usually say.
We usually talk about our labels and any conditions we have. Those are labels and conditions and whatever special thing we have for each hour.
Right. Well, her labels are pretty tipped to one side, really.
Yeah.
She's a freak of 2. She has a danger of 3. A savior of 0. Because yay. And then we go to the other scale. She has a superior of -1 and a mundane of -1.
Alright, so not feeling as freaky as we once did, but still not quite there with the whole human relations thing.
Not at all.
Not as freaky, but still feeling freaky.
Yeah, it's a constant for you, right? That's one of the problems of the playbook is having to deal with your situation.
It's fine.
But indeed.
I'm
And
sure.
are you looking at any particular conditions, or are you doing just dandy?
She has 2. She actually got rid of 1 last time
Yeah?
because of group therapy.
That's what Twisted will do to you. So, what conditions are we looking at?
Angry and guilty.
Angry and guilty.
Which pretty much sums her up anyway.
Yeah, Angry and Guilty would be the title of my teenage biography.
Yeah. Angry because no one likes her, guilty because she acts like an idiot.
Exactly.
But she did get a new advancement last time.
Yeah, what did you pick?
That we'll probably see in play today.
Which advancement did you pick?
Come on, Lucky.
Ah, yes, of course, the super pet. Yes. Very excited. Alright.
And then she mutated further on our second night. Yeah. So she started out with a tail, now she has little bony spikes all the way down her tail. Like a bearded dragon, very soft if you go with her tail, but gets prickly if you go against.
Mm-hmm.
And a set of horns. And scales up her hands. Like little gloves.
Yeah, your freak factor has gone up a bit recently. However,
Just a little.
Speaking of that, there is another thing we should mention, and that is the fact that you currently, as of last session, as of a particular gift you were given, we have made a custom move for you. You got a Gemini ring from Entry, and you now have a custom move based on that ring that you can only use once, however long it takes to recharge, which is a significant amount of time. But you have a move that allows you to try to pass for normal when you use the ring, and that we might see how that shakes out. We do actually have a mechanic for that now. So let's move on from Constrictor and talk about Trespass.
Yes, let us indeed. Cough. Well, Trespass is the Reformed, as it's called, meaning that she's a former crook who has turned to the light side.
Yeah.
Because she's dumb like that. The dark side has cookies. We all know that. Her labels are as follows. She's got a freak of 2 and a danger of 2, a savior of -1, a superior of -2, and a mundane of 3.
Solid.
It's pretty good. It takes her total up to 4, obviously, which is one more than what you start with, because we had a horrible session a couple of times ago where I got lots and lots of increases. She's only got one condition, which is guilty, which I suppose is kind of apt, considering that she's just pointed her entire team's activities out to Aegis. On the other hand, it's not as if they were the villains in this. If it hadn't been for them, things would have gotten really shitty. So the way she sees it, the fact that Aegis knows that they're there isn't all that bad. She's got some contacts. That's the special thing for the Reformed.
Mm-hmm.
And there is Mr. Kane,
Yeah.
who is former acquaintance of hers or friend of hers, and really he still is. He's a crime boss. It's somebody that Trespass actually likes. He's one of those old timey-wimey crime bosses who actually, has some sense of honor. On the other hand, don't mess with him or he's gonna batter your skull in with a baseball bat, sort of thing. She's also got contacts to somebody known as the Armorer, who is the Underworld's weaponsmith.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, she's got contacts to a man named Dr. Cutler, who is, whereas the Armorer is sort of a gruff and brusque sort of kind of guy with lots of weapons and so on, and really quite straightforward in that regards. Dr. Cutler, on the other hand, is a real sicko. He's the Dr. Mengele of the underworld, a man who can do a lot of different things because of some really, really sick experiments.
So creative and absurd individual.
Yeah, a man who thinks that the Hippocratic Oath gets in the way of discovery.
Pioneer.
Please
of
don't
his
sell
field.
me to him.
I mean, he could definitely get you a pair of fancy new legs.
It's the one reason why Trespass can see because of him.
Interesting.
She would have lost her eyesight if it hadn't been for him.
Interesting. Okay, this is new information. I'm looking forward to finding out more. Okay, well, yeah, cool story. So, Trespass is nice and clear to us with your former super villainous shenanigans. We will learn more, I am sure. And Recon, last but certainly not least, tell us about yourself.
Hello. Well, Recon is it's a joint playbook. Sadly, his other half is not here today. But we will get over it, suppose, somehow. So his labels currently stand freak at -2, danger at 0, savior at 2, superior at 2, mundane at 1. His conditions stand only at guilty and insecure. And his drives are currently, because he, despite not being a beacon, he shares the drives with the beacon, because his other half is a beacon.
Mm-hmm.
So his 4 drives currently are get drunk or high with the teammate, help a teammate when they most need you, tell somebody the true feelings for them, and kiss someone dangerous.
All of them wonderful drives.
And all like he's clearly driven to superhero things instead of not clearly into his teenage life.
Indeed.
And I don't think he's that interesting in other faucets. So yeah, that's it.
Very good. So, yeah, that's the current participants of the Misfits that we got. So I think we'll just jump straight into our latest issue of Masks. Of I suppose the issue would be of Misfits. So when we open today's issue, Halcyon City lies before us. It is nighttime, or at least about to be like mid-evening. It's getting dark out, and we rely on the light of the city to guide us. Halcyon City shines in the darkness. It is like looking down on like a large population center from space as being this beautiful golden web of light shining up from a dark country. Halcyon is aglow with the light of cosmopolitan brilliance. But in this place, in a darker corner of Halcyon, where the spaces between the lights grow wider, we find the form of Yun, of Trespass, in an alleyway, in a not particularly interesting seeming neighborhood, but definitely also drawn so as to be slightly unsettling. It has that "Are we in Gotham?" vibe to it.
Yeah. All of the creepiness.
And we find you there as you move to make contact with a person that you left behind in your former life, but still sometimes come across.
As I've described him, he was actually the one who in many ways helped her out of that life, because he's got severe enmity with the group that she used to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a sort of a fuck you in your face to her former group.
The kind of deal where you, like, was it any other person we would expect them? Like, if we saw the scene, we would expect him to be like, no, like, I'm not gonna help you. But in this particular case, when it turned out that he would help you, it was all like as a big middle finger to your organization, right?
It was, but it also left you extremely grateful to him.
Understandably so.
So she will, walk up to the door and
do the secret knock.
Yes, do the secret knock and wait until somebody lets her in.
Mm-hmm. The door slides open. It like rattles up, allowing you entrance to a sparsely lit warehouse.
Yes, she enters, looks around, to kind of to take in and see where are the guards located, just as a precaution, because it's he's still a dangerous man. So
definitely is.
But she doesn't really feel in danger here. He's in a very sick sort of way. He's kind of become a father figure to her because he was there and helped her when nobody else was, and because she doesn't have a father or never met him anyway. So yeah, so she looks around and just to see if anybody else is there, or else she continues, through the warehouse to where the office, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, is, because that's where you'd get in to his secret lair.
Of course. I think there's no one on the floor, right? It's just like an abandoned warehouse, and that's like part of the facade, right?
Yeah.
But when you arrive at the office, you're greeted by the sole ember of a burning cigarette in the vaguely lit room, as one of his henchmen, a person like a local super criminal, by the name of Max Mayhem.
Yes, Max Mayhem, because of course it is.
He looks like a modernized version of like an 80s greaser. He like steps out and like he recognizes you and doesn't say anything. He just like gives you an up nod greeting. Takes the cigarette out, drops it, steps on it, and like you know him, right? Like he does that, and without thinking, he lights a new one, as though the point wasn't that he
he's
just
a
put
real.
it out.
Yeah, he's a real chain smoker, and in the sense that he doesn't even finish the previous one before he lights up a new one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He nods to you and he's like, "See the boss?"
Indeed.
Sure. You're welcome. And
Thank you, Mr. Mayhem.
he goes over, like he brings you over to like the side. You know how this works. You've been here before.
Yeah.
So you like go over to like a far wall and it revolves because
Yes,
of course it does.
Of course it does.
And it, like you emerge into the actual lair of Mr. Kane.
Yes.
Which is still like I imagine Mr. Kane is not so his deal is being an information broker.
Yes.
Primarily, like he has his fingers in all sorts of pies, but he's not the guy who has one lair.
No.
He's the type who moves around. So
yes, it's safer that way.
Yeah, you expect to find him here, and so you do. But it has that like you're not walking into a super fortress as much as you're walking into what is clearly like constructed as a kind of criminal operation that you can abandon. It's a safe house more than anything else.
Yes.
And there Max Mayhem like takes you through the building, and in here there are people. In here there are people in overalls like stacking crates, and like there's a forklift like backing out with a monotone beeping, like as they cart stuff around.
Beep. Yeah.
Someone is like having a conversation with a man in a suit speaking in Serbian, and you
Oh my god, the typecasting.
I know, right? But you get taken to the office of Mr. Kane.
Yes.
Whom do you have like a clear mental image of what Mr. Kane looks like?
Yes, I do. He's a quite tall, thin man, quite well dressed. Has the one thing is that he doesn't wear neckties. He hates them. They're strangulation devices basically. So, but other than that, he's well dressed. As his name sort of implies, he's always got a walking cane with him. Not necessarily because he actually needs one, but because you can hide an awful lot of really cool gadgets in a walking stick.
Yep.
He's got gray, almost white hair and beard, short, very well trimmed beard, and a nice classic sort of haircut for men.
Mm-hmm.
He looks a little bit like he looks a little bit like the cool granddad who actually still goes hiking at the age of 65, that sort of thing, But of course, that the appearances can be deceiving, and we are talking about a quite dangerous individual here.
Right. Well, a man with a smiling face and calculating eyes.
Yes, precisely. In fact,
wonderful. All right, so yeah, you get shown into his office. Max like closes the door behind you, but remains inside the office. Right, he steps inside the door and like leans against the wall.
yes.
And Mr. Kane like stands up when you enter, and he walks
She
around.
bows. She bows because he is somebody to be respected.
You know that he appreciates this, and when you catch his face as you bow, like you can see like the hint of a smirk on his face, and we can see it on the page, right? Like clearly this is a good thing. But he stands up from behind his desk and walks around it, and like he walks as though he needs the cane, even though, as you said, it's questionable if he does.
Yeah.
And he
keeping
like
up appearances.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, oh please, little one, don't stand on formality here.
She stands up when he says so. She straightens back up, and she says, I'm very happy to see you again. It has been a little while since I've had an opportunity to come by.
Yeah, you can say that again. Far too long for my liking. I'm very happy to have you come by.
I actually come because I have information I thought might be interesting to you.
Oh, such a lovely child, always thinking of me, like, oh, just so helpful.
Yeah,
Look,
I'm sure.
Why don't you?
Oh, sorry.
Why don't we sit? Why don't we
Of
sit?
course, she sits with him and
There's
smiles.
like a corner sofa in his office. Like there is
Yes.
like definitely like desk and chairs, right? But there's a corner sofa that he like sits down in. There's like a little coffee table with a couple of bottles. Like it's I forget what it's called, but when you like it's you have these like crystal whiskey bottles, right? Like that.
Oh yeah. I know what it is. In a sort of a little wooden box where you can. Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
So he pours himself something to drink, and then he looks to you with like kind of a glimmer in his eyes because you're underage. So he's
Yes.
like you partake.
She does. She's not a teetotaler, so she certainly does.
All right.
She's still a hood at heart, obviously. So you know.
He pours you a helping too, and like slides a glass over.
Thank you.
And like places the cane over his over his knees, and then folds his hand and looks at you.
Yeah.
He says, "So, how has life been treating you?"
Life has been good. School is good. I've actually made friends. The fact that I should ever have friends isn't. It's a new experience.
Max gives a tiny chuckle from the door, and Mr. Kane looks over. Is like, "Now, Max, don't mock her. It's very important that we tend to our education. It's good to hear that you're back in school."
It's been. It's not only that, but it's a very good way of hiding from my old life, hiding amongst so many perfectly ordinary children and a few not so ordinary ones. But those are all over the place by now, obviously.
It is indeed a thing I've heard more and more of. It's a thing that circulates in my branch of society as well. You hear about all sorts of new people entering the scene. It's really quite infuriating from time to time, but it's also very fascinating.
I imagine so. But it must also mean a great deal of information to bring to the table.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes. Other times, it's a weird thing to talk about, you know. Sometimes life serves you up something that you would assume on face value would be a great boon, but upon closer inspection, you learn better. You find out that certain things aren't the way you expect them to be. The way that we come to appreciate nuance where we see black and white.
Indeed. I have, as I mentioned, found some information that I'm sure that you would find interesting. It's not complete information, but it should still be of some use, I hope.
Well, I am always keen. Why don't you tell me?
I'm sure that you're already aware that Aegis is on the harbor front. Yes, and it was because of an escape, obviously, a woman who escaped from custody, Putridity Cassidy. But I was there earlier tonight in hiding, and I was indeed, and I was climbing along one of the piers down by the waterline using the tires, the old tires that cushions the ships. The tenders, I think they're called. I was climbing along those, and there were two Aegis agents walking on the pier above me, talking about what they were doing there. And officially, yes, they were there to clean up the mess because a barge had sunk full of chemical waste. But they said very clearly, that they were there for something else that had been on that barge, something special that had been on the barge. They didn't say what it was, but something was on there that they wanted.
Very sneaky and very typical of them. What brought you down to the harbor?
I was part of the people who dealt with putrid lycanthropy.
Oh no, I meant tonight. And you can tell because you
Right.
know the man, right? Like when he says this, there is a vibe to him. He's still being pleasant, but
Yeah.
he's also like the underlying question here that he's not asking, but is obviously what he's going for, is he's trying to discern why you and Aegis were at the same place at the same time.
Oh, right. I went down there because I saw on the news that Aegis was there, and I wanted to know what they were doing there. I don't trust them.
Clever liar. Okay. Yeah, so he nods, seemingly believing you. Well, you would be right to, some would say.
The the reason why it's a good lie is that there is actually a hint of truth in it.
Yeah.
So you know those are the best lies, and she says so. In any case, they were looking for something. I got away without them discovering that I was there. I wish I knew what it was, but I wasn't feeling quite up to the task of diving into the harbor with chemical waste floating around.
Understandable. I think that's a very sensible decision, if you ask me.
Yes.
So that is indeed very curious information. That is, and it is not without value. And as you know, something for something is kind of my motto.
Of course.
Is there perhaps something that you would like in exchange for that information?
She smiles a little and says, the way I see it, I'm already indebted to you, so it only seems fair that I share such information from time to time when I come across it.
Such a sweet child, but really that's nothing to concern yourself with. And he like waves his hand dismissively. It's like, it's nothing. Don't you worry about what you owe me. And we can appreciate that because we know how the mechanics of the game works and that there's a little bar that ticks off, that this is not the case at all. You should very much worry about what you owe him. But right now he's being very pleasant about it.
Of course. She says, well, I do. There is one thing that I'm concerned about.
Oh no.
And it concerns one of my new friends, whom I would like to help protect, if at all possible. The Aegis people are likely to find out that she has been that she was at the harbor front as well, and she's very easy to recognize. She's 8 meters long and has the lower body of a snake. She does tend to stick out a little.
He chuckles like, huh, yeah, okay, that seems like it's.
So.
Probably also already know who she is.
Yes.
Probably.
So if you have any information on where I might be able to, let's just say, get her file and see it destroyed, I think that would be very nice.
I could absolutely tell you a certain kind of magic trick that could help you in that regard, but it is not a simple one. Long ago, and he leans into his age for a moment, right? He's like,
Yes.
look at the old man with the cane. And he says like, oh, it used to be such a time when all you had to worry about was the paper trail, but those times are sadly past. Now is a time of all sorts of technological gadgetry and little beeping boxes that do all sorts of things, and apparently things get stored on the clouds now. It's a very confusing time for an old man, and he smiles wickedly.
Yeah, she gives him a smile back that says, "I know that I know perfectly well that you are more tech savvy than anyone I know, except the man I can't tell is my half brother."
Exact. So, what he's also saying here, right? Because he is making like a little, oh, silly old me talking to you. You're such a millennial. Surely you know better than I. But
Yes.
what he's also saying there is that that it is simply like it's not simple, right? It's a complex matter
Yes.
that you're looking at, and though it can definitely be done, he is reminding you here that like, yeah, I could sing you this song, but that is not gonna make it easy at all.
No, but she looks at him and says, "I'm prepared to undertake hardships for this. She's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
She's a good friend."
Well, in that case, what you might want to focus on is tripartite in nature. All of
Right.
Aegis's main investigative folders, such as the data they keep on known superhumans and other. They keep files on superhumans and entities that deviate too aggressively from normal humanity, because that is their job, after all. They keep that in a main server, and then they have an offshore backup. In addition, everything pertaining to a given investigative unit is kept on a mobile server device that gets transported around with that unit's motorcade.
Ah. Yes, and I see the first and second ones, seeing as they are stationary, would be, well, you can reach them, but the third one is going to be the difficult one.
One might think so. It depends on one's approach. For example, he says, and like gestures to you, a person of such a skill set as trained by the Blood Rose would perhaps find the third one very easy compared to the other two. Attacking a motorcade, though it is not an easy sell for anyone, is arguably easier for one such as you than infiltrating Aegis headquarters, whereas infiltrating the offshore place might be easier.
I understand.
If there is any such thing that an old man like I could pass on to you, it is play to your strengths. Unfortunately, rare is the person whose strengths appeal to all these instances at once. They're a very tricky agency. They've had to deal with all sorts of things in the past. Do you know they have a person trapped in their mainframe, or at least some kind of weird prison side bank of their mainframe, who is in fact a personified virus?
That sounds like a terrible kind of punishment, but on the other hand, it might be dreadful if such a creature was released onto for example, the internet.
Indeed.
She looks very thoughtful at that, and it's very clear that no, she did not know this. In fact, she had no idea, and she takes a hefty gulp of her drink, because that's actually quite unpleasant to think about, and she says, these in any case, these what do they call these three servers? I'm I'm assuming that the mainframe would be in their headquarters, and the offshore would be in, let me guess, it's either in the London or the Paris.
He smiles at you
sections?
wickedly. He's like, ah, yes, one would think so, wouldn't they? But in fact, the truth is far more curious. The offshore is, and like at this point, I think he's standing up, and he walks over to like he has like all sorts of stuff adorning his walls, and he reaches up to like one of those little like rolly out like pull down widespreads, and like there's a world map on it, and he points into the Pacific, and he says, "It is located right here," and he's just pointing at water, or at least around here.
And she gets up and walks over there and quickly checks on the edges of the map to see the longitude and latitude and see if she can narrow it down to within a number of, minutes, as it's also, so and so many latitude, that and that longitude, so and so many minutes.
The offshore server is located on a very large experimental submarine that moves around in these waters.
I see.
Officially, it is there as part of the U.S. Naval presence well, I don't know what the diplomatic term is. We used to call it gunboat diplomacy.
Yeah.
But and then he points to, and this is a little thing that we notice that's different from the real world. But it's like in relation to, and he points to an island. That isn't in the Pacific in our actual world.
No,
is in this world.
Yes.
That he points to, that is like off the coast of Halcyon, in the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
And it's called Viatovia.
Viatovia.
Yeah. VIOR Tovia.
VIOR.
Yeah, Tovia. TOVIA.
Yeah.
Which is like, this is a place that you know about this. Your character knows about this, though you might not know a lot about it. This is Latveria.
Oh, this is Doctor Doom's homeland, basically.
Yes.
All right.
It is like a sovereign nation ruled by a lady known as the Dread Queen, who is in like a military standoff with the United States. And the tiny speck of land that, like, comparatively, that Viatovia comprises, despite that being, like, as I said, like, very tiny, compared to all of the Americas.
It's still massively powerful.
It is in question who would win.
Oh, dear. Yeah, okay. Well, I think she's... I would suggest, that basically she and Mr. Kane... continue the conversation for a little while about, where she gets some information, and then we can maybe go to the others.
Yeah, absolutely. So, now this is the point where I take us out of the scene and asks you instead. Is there something else that you would like Trespass to like ask Mr. Kane now that he's here?
No, it's as much a social call as anything else, and she brought him this tidbit of information, mostly to tell him, I haven't forgotten about you in any way, and I still give a damn.
Such a sweet girl.
She might be the reformed, but she's got the old life has claws in her. It's just the way it is.
So you have come to him for help with your problems. He has offered you some help. Now you did offer something in return for that. And I think I will let that color your relationship. But at the same time, I think you should take an obligation box with Mr. Kane for him assisting you in the matter of the Aegis servers.
Certainly done.
And this is not the only thing you come away with, right? This isn't just him saying, oh yeah, there are 3 things, have a good time, bye-bye. But he's, like, the thing we don't see in this scene is the part where he like gives you some more comprehensive information about it. That is not the entire scheme of everything, but you have something to work with.
Yeah, something that's that definitely that's I've ticked the box.
Mm. And so he says like goodbye to you, and you go on your merry way. And he also feel free to come back at any time.
Of course.
It's always nice with some company. And Max leads you out.
Yes, and then she heads back towards, back home, basically.
Sure. All right. So I guess in the meantime, let's talk about recon. let's talk about Recon. So Recon, what's actually up in your neck of the woods? It's like late evening, or like moving into nighttime in Halcyon City. You return from the like birthday party. Is there something in particular going on like in your life that you do on your own?
Actually, I don't think he would have like any particular thing going on. He would probably go, since I don't even know where he lives these days.
Let's find out. Where do you live?
He would probably still live at the weird lakeside house, or
Would you? Isn't that a vigil safe house?
well, it was technically his family house, so it's like, you know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I'm listening.
yeah, I'm wondering if he would live there. Like, he's probably either there or in the old ruin mall thing.
The mall is currently under reconstruction. They're making it
Aw.
into something contemporary. Someone has bought it.
No.
Probably Grave, the idiot.
The Graves Mall.
Graves Weapons Division shopping mall.
Yeah. It will be just a big mall selling guns.
That is the Second Amendment shopping mall.
It's a shooting mall. Yeah. Yeah, so he'll probably yeah, I imagine he would be either living there, or he would maybe read like, I'm actually not sure if he will be like, not sure where he will be living these days.
Have you moved in like in a place of your own? Like do you have an apartment that you like pay rent for? Is that a thing? Because there was a change in your life, right? There was a piece of tumult when you left the vigil, and went into like harsh training alongside Vanguard, like for some, like, I don't know what that would be, but your mom like trained you and Recon furiously. No, so you and Vanguard furiously, and then you returned. And like, what did you make of your life from then on until you started school? If you don't like, if you can't think of anything, it's fine, because it's not a thing that's necessary for us to know. It's just a thing I'm curious about. We can ignore that and then like fill it in later.
I don't know. I just don't know anything off the top of my head. He probably. I imagine he would be since yeah. To be fair, he might be just he maybe just since he got closer with the Aaron's family a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably more with his dad than his mom. Then he might have offered his dad just to help him around in the gym, just to
Right.
and he's probably just like actually like maybe he tidied himself a corner in the gym, like some old closet, and just.
Right, like maybe you live in the same building that the gym is in. Maybe there's like an upstairs apartment.
Yeah, apartment, or later he might have cleaned out some like one storage room.
That could also be the case. Like there's a fold-out mattress in the boiler room.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That could be a thing.
Yeah.
You could like live in the back rooms of like the gym that Aaron's dad runs.
Yeah, but I don't think he would be going back to the show. He would probably just be like, go to like a like club or something for a drink. Trying to get a drink in like some club.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I think he looks old enough. Passport.
You look old enough. You're a very buff young man. Yeah. So that's a like. That's how you. That's actually what is your if you live where you live, what is your disposable income looking like, and where is it from? If I will continue to ask my provocative questions.
I imagine maybe it's his maybe how is it called Aaron's dad every now and again insists like slip him some cash for like keeping the gym
Right.
like clean and stuff like that.
Payment for your air quote job.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he might do some like agency work, like he's like this kind of like he's probably maybe registered in some kind of agency, and they every now and again just call him and be like, oh, do you want to do like a shift in X place, like help on this construction site, go to this like factory and work for like 12 hours, like 12-hour shift.
Right, so like freelancing. Do you ever freelance do you freelance in like a superheroic capacity? Are you like, or did you learn your lesson from your interactions with Graves? Are you on the proverbial superheroic straight and narrow? Or are you like still acting as superpowered muscle in some cases?
Well, it probably depends who's asking. It's like if like exemplars or like like whisperers, somebody comes in around like and asks him to do it, he will be like, okay, yeah, sure, for some money. Like he probably won't do it for everybody, but he's not just like hero for hire. He's not. He ain't Luke Cage. But yeah, but he probably like every now and again he'll maybe do something like that.
All right, interesting. Thanks for telling me. I can. Let me stew on that for a little while. I'll figure something out. Okay, but you go to a nightclub. All right, excellent. Let's see what transpires in that nightclub. But we'll do so after the break. So let's grab something to drink, and we'll be right back.